Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into The Shrink and the Sage. And let me tell you, this is not your average self-help book. It's not about finding some magic formula for happiness. Instead, it's about building a practical toolkit for living a wiser, more thoughtful life. So let's open up that toolbox and see what's inside. So, let's start with the question that I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. Why is this whole happiness thing so difficult? I mean, we're surrounded by books, podcasts, and articles all telling us how to be happy. But for so many of us, that feeling of real contentment, it just seems to stay out of reach. It's a struggle we can all relate to. The source kicks things off with this fantastic, brutally honest quote from Garrison Keillor. I love it because it just cuts through the noise. It acknowledges a simple truth, right? Life has its ups and downs. This idea that we're supposed to be in a state of constant blissful happiness, well, it's just not realistic.
And if you've ever felt a little cynical about the whole self-help industry, you are definitely not alone. The constant promise of a secret or a 5-step formula can get pretty exhausting. But what if the goal isn't to find some magic answer? What if it's about getting better at asking the right questions in the first place?
This is where we get to the absolute heart of the matter. The ancient Greeks had a word for it, phronesis. It means practical wisdom. It's not about memorizing a bunch of rules. It's about developing the skill to see situations clearly and make better choices. Think of it like building a mental toolbox, not just following a rigid rulebook.
So that brings us to the first tool in our kit, the idea of moving beyond happiness. We're told over and over to chase that feeling. But what if we've been aiming at the wrong target this whole time?
Seriously, think about it. When we make the feeling of happiness our main goal, we often end up frustrated. Why? Because feelings, by their very nature, come and go. Is a good life really just about collecting as many pleasant moments as possible? Or could it be something deeper, something a bit more solid?
So if feeling happy isn't the ultimate goal, what is? Well, let's go back to the Greeks. They had another great word for this, eudaimonia. It's usually translated as flourishing. And for Aristotle, this was the ultimate aim of human life. It's not about feeling good, it's about living well. It's about living a life of purpose and virtue, using our uniquely human ability to reason and to choose.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we flourish? Aristotle gave us this brilliant practical tool. He noticed that for any given virtue, we tend to swing between two unhealthy extremes. You know, you can have too little of something, like cowardice, or way too much, like recklessness. You can be apathetic, or you can be consumed by rage. The good stuff, the virtue, is somewhere in the middle.
And this is his famous golden mean. But here's the key part that people often miss. It's not about being boring or just splitting the difference. Courage isn't just 50% cowardice and 50% recklessness. No, it's about having the right amount of fear and confidence for the specific situation you're in. It's a wise, flexible response. This is that practical wisdom, that phronesis in action.
All right, so building a flourishing life means we need to know who we are, right? But what if the way we think about ourselves is kind of wrong? We're always told to find our true self, but what if that's another myth we need to bust?
I absolutely love this analogy from the source. On one hand, you have the pearl view. This is the idea that deep inside you there's a perfect, fixed, unchanging core, your true self, and your job is to dig down and find it. But then there's the bundle view. This says that you're more like a collection, a bundle of your thoughts, habits, relationships, and most importantly, your actions. You aren't something you find, you're something you actively build.
The existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre just nailed it with this quote. It's the ultimate expression of that bundle view. We aren't defined by some hidden potential or secret inner self. We are defined by what we actually consistently do. Our choices and our actions, that's what makes us who we are.
And this shows us exactly how it works in practice. Aristotle was talking about this thousands of years ago. You don't wait until you feel courageous to act. No way. You become a courageous person by doing brave things, especially when you don't feel like it. Character isn't a discovery. It's a construction project, and every single action is a brick.
So, if we are what we do, then the goals we set for ourselves are a pretty big deal. Our culture is obsessed with goals, ticking boxes, climbing ladders, but are we setting the kinds of goals that actually build a good life? The source makes this really crucial distinction. You've got finishing goals, which are all about the end point, winning the race, getting the promotion. The joy is often pretty short-lived. But then you have being and doing goals. These focus on the process. The The goal isn't just to win one race, it's to be a good runner, to live out the habits and values of that identity, day in and day out. The value is in the living itself.
Now, to really get why this matters, we need to understand a mind-blowing concept from psychologist Daniel Kahneman. He says we basically have two selves operating inside us. First, there's your experiencing self, the one living life moment by moment. But then there's your remembering self. This is the storyteller, the one who looks back on all those moments and weaves them into a narrative. And this storyteller is biased. It loves drama. It remembers the peaks and the lows, and it cares a lot about how things end.
And here's the absolute kicker. Our remembering self, the one that ultimately decides if we've had a satisfying life, doesn't just add up all the happy moments. It doesn't care about that. It cares about the story. A life that includes struggle, overcoming challenges, and growing. Well, that makes for a much better, more meaningful story than a life of just flat, easy, forgettable pleasure.
This leads us right to our final section. Because let's be real, building a good story is messy. Life is full of conflict, and a lot of that conflict happens right inside our own heads. So, how do we deal with that?
Of course you have. We all have. You want the security of a stable job, but man, that craving for adventure is real. You value deep connection with a partner, but you also need your independence. This internal tug-of-war, it's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're a normal human being.
There's actually a philosophical term for this: value pluralism. It's just a fancy way of saying that there are lots of things in life that are genuinely good, like security and adventure, but that are often in conflict with each other. You can't always have 100% of both at the same time. To choose more of one often means accepting a little less of another. Life is just a series of trade-offs.
And this is such a huge perspective shift. The goal isn't to get rid of conflict or to find some mythical, perfect balance where everything fits together seamlessly. That's a fantasy. Real wisdom is about looking at the trade-offs honestly, consciously choosing which values you're going to prioritize right now, and then committing to that choice knowing full well what it costs.
So let's wrap this all up. We haven't discovered some secret formula for happiness. What we've done is assemble a powerful toolkit for thinking differently, for thinking more wisely about how to live.
This table just lays it all out so clearly. Instead of the common myth of chasing happiness, we can aim for the deeper goal of flourishing. Instead of endlessly searching for a true self, we can get to work building our character. Rather than just ticking off goals, we can focus on crafting a meaningful life story. And instead of trying to eliminate all our inner conflict, we can learn the art of making conscious trade-offs.
And that really brings us to the final most important point. This isn't just interesting philosophy to think about. It's a call to action. Because if you are the builder of your own character, if you are the author of your own story, then the power is in your hands, right now. So the question is, what's one choice you can make today to start building the person you really want to be?